Hi, I'm Natasha. Thanks for joining me again today. I have a question for you. Can you think of a time when you were afraid of something but then later realized that it was totally unnecessary? I remember this one night I was sitting on my bed and I saw a huge spider. But then I realized, it's God's creation and spiders are good for nature. So it was totally irrational and it was an unnecessary fear. Well, in today's God story, we'll see that when we focus on Jesus, we don't need to be afraid. Let's check this out.
Why are ghosts bad liars? Because you can see right through them. Hi friends, it's Jen. I'm really excited to be with you again today. Have you guys ever been afraid of anything? See, when I was your age, I was really afraid of getting needles at the doctor. I would kick and scream. It was just not pleasant. But one time when I went, I remember making such a big deal, and finally they got me in the chair and they gave me the needle, and guess what? It didn't actually hurt at all. And I felt so silly and so dumb for making such a big deal of it. And I realized that I actually didn't have to be afraid at all. And that leads me to today's big idea. When we focus on Jesus, we don't need to be afraid. So last time we talked about Jesus and the start of his ministry here on earth. He was baptized by his cousin John, who spent some time in the wilderness being tempted. And then he found Peter and Andrew, two brothers fishing, and said, "Come follow me, help me spread the message of the kingdom of God." And they went, and that's how Jesus' ministry really got started. So Jesus ended up with 12 disciples. There were Peter and Andrew, who were brothers. There were also James and John, who were brothers. And then there were also Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, James, Thaddeus, Simon, and Judas Iscariot. So of the 12 disciples, Jesus had 3 that he was the closest with, kind of like his BFFs or his huddle, if you will. And they were Peter, James, and John. So all 12 of them learned a lot from Jesus and saw him do a lot of miracles and really cool things. But these 3, Peter, James, and John, they kind of got some extra details from time to time. And Peter, well, he was like a super hardcore disciple. He's like one of those friends where you would suggest something crazy like, hey, why don't we go skydiving someday? And within 10 minutes, he's on the internet and has the complete thing booked for you. Peter was really over the top. So Peter is all in, but sometimes he speaks before he thinks. Have any of you ever gotten into trouble that way? Me too. So for the rest of this series, we're going to focus on Peter and see what we can learn from his connection with Jesus. So for today's story, we're going to be looking in Matthew chapter 14. So at this point, Jesus has been with his disciples for a little bit of time. And just before the story we're looking at today, Jesus did the miracle of feeding 5,000 people with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. So let's pick up in verse 22. Right away, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat. He had them go on ahead of him to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Then he sent the crowd away. After he had sent them away, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. So it's cool to note here that even Jesus, the Son of God, took some time to be away and spend time in prayer with his heavenly Father. The disciples in the boat were scared when a strong storm came through. So let's read what happens next. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to the disciples. He walked on the lake. They saw him walking on the lake and were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. Right away, Jesus called out to them, "Be brave, it is I. Don't be afraid." Now, I would be so afraid if I was on a boat in the middle of the storm and then this person starts walking towards me. But Jesus says, chill, it's okay, it's me. And we can remember that all the time, that no matter where we are, Jesus is always with us. "Lord, is it you?" Peter asked. "If it is, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. So Peter got out of the boat. He walked on the water toward Jesus. But when Peter saw the wind, he was afraid. He began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." So Peter actually started walking towards Jesus on the water, which is really cool. But for just a moment, he took his eyes off Jesus and started to focus on the troubles around him, the wind and the waves. And when he did, he began to sink. This happens to us too sometimes, doesn't it? Like in the story I shared at the beginning, I was so scared about that needle that I took my eyes off the bigger picture, which is my health and my well-being. And I think sometimes we can all do that. We can focus on the little things that we're scared of or that are bothering us, and we take our eyes off the bigger picture, that Jesus is always with us. So let's read what happens next to Peter. Right away, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "Your faith is so small," he said. "Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those in the boat worshiped Jesus. They said, "You really are the Son of God." So it's really cool to see how quickly Jesus jumped in and rescued Peter in this scary situation. But you can be sure that Jesus was probably a little bit disappointed. I mean, he did say, "Peter, your faith is so small." After even spending all of this time with Jesus, when Peter got distracted, he still had some doubts. But as Jesus rescued Peter and got him back into the boat, the wind died down and all of the disciples worshiped Jesus. It's true that we can get distracted by worries or fears. So whether it's going to the doctor, a bully at your school, or being worried about a test that you have to write, when we focus on Jesus, no matter what, we don't need to be afraid. Well, friends, it's been so good to hang out. I will see you next time.
Quickly turn to the person next to you and answer the following questions before the time runs out. Starting now. Question time. Jesus had 12 disciples, but of those 12, he had 3 who were the closest to him. They were Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Rack, Shaq, and Benny, Peter, James, and John, or John, Paul, and Ringo. Peter, James, and John. The disciples were in a boat when a storm started brewing. Wind and waves were strong. Jesus then walks out to them on the water and says, "Don't be afraid, I'm here. Batten down the hatches. Don't worry, it'll blow over," or "Stop shouting and the wind will stop. Don't be afraid, I'm here." Peter is so bold, he asks Jesus to let him steer the ship, walk on water, sing a song, or swim with dolphins. Walk on water. Peter started to walk on water, but he got distracted by the strong winds and waves. Peter started to sink. What kind of things do you get distracted by and worry about?
Game time! Mixed up. Can you say the key verse before the words are sorted? Get ready. 3, 2, 1, go! Say it with me. Jesus said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must say no to themselves. They must pick up their cross and follow me." Matthew 16, verse 24.
I've heard this God story before, but it was an amazing reminder of how we can trust Jesus no matter how unsettling the situation. Although it's impossible to compare anything in our lives with how amazingly Jesus takes care of us, I thought I'd share this story about dog guides who take amazing care of their humans in ways that will blow your mind. Watch this.
Hey, it's Linda, and it's great to be hanging out with you today. People can sometimes go through tough times due to health problems, and they can even experience fear in that. But we know that having Jesus in our lives, we don't have to be afraid. But sometimes a little bit of extra help can help us manage our circumstances even better. We visited Dog Guides Canada and got a glimpse into how dog guides can change people's lives and help give them peace of mind when they're challenged with specific health problems.
So the qualities that we look for in our dogs, we want dogs that are caring, that love to work for people, that are natural learners. So for a dog who's very sniffy, a little bit higher in energy, would be perfect for a diabetic alert program. Versus a dog, let's say, that's super bomb-proof, that's really confident, would be perfect for the canine vision program. So we really try to play up on the dog's natural abilities.
So a lot of the times when someone loses their vision, they do tend to lose confidence in themselves. So the dogs bring that element of safety to the client, that element of independence.
I'm Sandra. I'm 44 years old. I was part of the canine vision program and I got my canine vision dog, Kylie. She is my trained guide dog, where she helps me when I'm outside. She's my trusted companion, and she's like my daughter, the daughter that I've never had.
Okay, let's go find the elevator buttons.
I had a lot of panic attacks going out into the street, going to the mall. I would avoid it at all costs because I was just so scared to do it.
Go.
I would cross into a path and get hit by a grocery cart because I didn't see it coming. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And the person would be like, what are you, blind or something? Yeah.
It's the dog's responsibility to get them there safely and effectively by navigating obstacles, stopping at curbs to indicate to the client that they've reached an intersection, et cetera, et cetera.
When we get closer to the traffic, and I can hear it, I'll ask her to find the down curb, and that's where a guide dog will stop. Some streets in the city of Toronto have an audible button. With the audible buttons, for north-south is one signal, and for east-west is a different, so you actually know what direction you're going into. I have to learn the traffic, so I can hear the east-west cars are stopped and that the north-south cars are going, and I know we can cross the street safely. She's my eyes, so she directs me where I need to go. I feel much, much safer being with her, being out on the road with her, being out anywhere with her.
The dogs are an added tool that the person already uses to manage, let's say, their diabetes or any medical condition that they may have.
With a diabetic service dog, it's a little bit different because a diabetic service dog is trained to learn the scent of when their client goes into a low sugar. So once they go into that low sugar, the dog is trained to go get the insulin candy kit and bring it to their client. This way the client can either take their insulin, take that little bit of candy or whatnot. The kit will always remain in the same area for the dog, and it's always in a low area that the dog can get to. If the dog notices that the diabetic client is not coming out of that diabetic low, there's a special phone that the dog can dial the emergency contact for the diabetic person for emergency personnel to arrive. With me, my fear was I didn't even want to leave the condo at one point. I was just too scared to leave here. My fears of being blind and not being able to do things are almost not there anymore. I can do things, and I can do them with her help. I have less panic and anxiety attacks right now when I'm with her. Her and I have created a bond, and it's basically like unconditional love between the both of us.
The people and dogs at Dog Guides Canada do phenomenal work, and we have so much respect and appreciation for them. If you're a dog lover and feel like you can help in any way, reach out to them and show your love and concern for others by taking the dogs for a walk or helping out with any other needs they may have.
It's horrible to live in fear, and it was amazing how these dog guides could help humans overcome their fears by being there for them. Think of this. If dogs can change humans' lives by supporting them when they need help, can you imagine how much Jesus can change your life when you focus on him? Jesus is with us day and night, and we can always share our fears with him, whether that be something huge or something that may seem insignificant to others. Let's break into our small groups now and see what this looks like in our own stories.